Forge the Narrative.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. We're continuing our orc coverage. I'm joined tonight by Val Huffafinger and Mark Parker.
How's it going, guys?
Hashtag OrcsOP.
I got two bona fide orc players. One, a long lineage of success, and the other is Val Huffafinger.
Oh, that's kind of...
Oh.
I led the ITC in orcs for like
Man,
5 minutes.
Look, I'm messing
year.
with you. I'm messing with you.
Hey, no, it was a miracle. Okay, it should never have happened.
Well, no, I mean, this is going to be a big codex. This is going to have, I think, the biggest impact to, and I'm using the term, I know people have different mixed feelings about it, the biggest impact to the meta that we have seen in a long time.
Certainly since Knights.
But Knights were kind of subtle. This is like a real in-your-face change.
Yeah, it's definitely going to shake things up with their ability to bring the heat in multiple ways.
Yeah, I think the orcs have the potential to change a lot of dominant builds out there right now.
We are the Battle of Lost Souls podcast. Thank y'all for joining us. This is week 2 of our orc coverage. I hope you guys are getting your pre-orders in with discountgamesinc.com. Jay's a great guy. He will certainly take care of you. Please continue to send some business his way as they have chosen to support us, and that means a whole lot. So thank y'all for the folks that are checking them out. Check them out if you have not already. Okay, so let's talk about what could be the FAC Watch. I think that's about the best way to describe it. Because the FAQs, as you know, they follow the codexes after they've been released, after they've been had a little bit of opportunity to kind of exist out there, see what people think, see what people's actual questions are. And I think the one that's going to stare us in the face the quickest is the cultures with the actual, basically the orc chapter tactics. There is a rule for the Graz. Units comprised entirely of Gretchen cannot benefit from any clan culture. And then it says, in addition, you can't use orc stratagems, or in addition, orc stratagems can only be used on these units if the stratagem explicitly states so. An example, the Grot Shield stratagem. Why is this relevant? Because things like killicans and the mech guns have the Gretchen keyword, but say for instance the killican, the unit contains 1 killican. It can include up to 2 additional killicans, but it has the Gretchen keyword. And we know theme wise, Gretchen crew killicans, and then the mech gun says the unit contains 1 mech gun and 6 Grot crew. Help me out here, guys.
Well, when I first read this, because it says entirely comprised of, or whatever it is, with the bolded keyword Gretchen, I thought immediately that it was referring to Gretchen. I've had a lot of conversations on this because my thinking was that a killican is both entirely comprised of Gretchen and killicans. So, because it has both of those keywords. So my thinking was that perhaps the intent there was to just really refer to units of Gretchen. However, I think some people are making a very good point that every data sheet does have Gretchen on it. Therefore, that might mean killicans and mech guns. More importantly, mech guns.
If I can add to the mech gun discussion here, is that the Grot crew, each mech gun and its Grot crew are treated as a single model for all rules purposes.
Right.
That is listed there in the Grot crew rule.
And it's one data sheet too, right? So like it's also one data sheet with one stat line. Yeah, sorry, with one set of keywords. Whereas say the old Mech Guns data sheet contained keywords for its crew, which included the Gretchen, and for the gun. So now those have been merged together. So that does make things a bit confusing.
And probably theme-wise, they probably mean Gretchen, because, the Grots are over there. They probably don't want them to have the cool orc stuff.
Well, I think that culture, specifically the Death Skulls, allowing you to re-roll the damage, the to wound roll, is pretty over the top.
Well, on single shot models, yeah.
That auto hit.
Oh, what are we talking about?
I'm talking about the tractor cannon, the mech guns. With the tractor cannon, the weapon hits.
Oh, you didn't realize there were other mech guns than the tractor cannon?
No, I did not. I'm sorry, I did not. Well, because in a world where, I think about, and I played a tournament this weekend and I faced 2 knight armies, and we can talk about that later on, but when I'm building a list, I think, can I kill a knight in turn 1? So I'm immediately drawn to the mech guns and the tractor cannons that hit automatically and are strength 8 and do d6 damage.
And What do they do if the unit has the fly keyword?
When they destroy it, they cause an automatic explosion, a crash and burn.
Oh, and aren't they also effectively 48-inch Melta as well against units with the fly keyword?
If the target is an enemy vehicle unit that can fly, roll 2 dice when inflicting damage. So yes.
And if you're Death Skulls, you can re-roll one of those results?
Yes. Well, okay. That is if.
Right. So if you're Death Skulls, and you have a tractor cannon, let's say 18 of them, 40K just doesn't need to keep being played because that's game over, everybody. There's no amount of Wave Serpents, there's no Knights, there's no nothing that's going to stand up to auto hitting, 48-inch range, re-rolling wounds and damage. Strength 8, -2. Melta against fly. That's and auto explodes. So you got your hemlocks there, that's great. Well, it automatically blew up.
That army those things would destroy the army that I played this past weekend.
For a grand total of how many points?
45 points.
45 points.
Per gun. So it's a per gun. But the way the Death Skulls, the Lucky Blue Gets works is that it lets you reroll one thing, but if you're only a single model, whatever. So in my mind, I'd already built a list that was Evil Sons in battle wagons with Death Rollers backed up by the Vanguard with a bunch of Death Skulls met guns. And
you don't even,
what was that?
I was just going to say, you don't even need to deploy anything else. You just think of all the big bad things out there. Talos has fly keyword. A Castellan, just gets mulched. Wave Serpents, they die. Everything dies. It's an everyone dies sale.
Well, I think again that's why we're talking about this being on the FAC Watch. I think that this whole emprise entirely of Graz will most likely be clarified.
Well, let me throw this out there: tractor cannon at 45 points. You're not rerolling wound or damage. You're still everything else. You're telling me that's not going to get fact?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think so. I think that's. I mean, it's fine for things to be powerful. I think that what we see is anytime rule stacking gets involved. That's one of the reasons the Inari is so powerful because you have rule stacking. That's why there's been 2 FAQs around what a Inari is.
I would take a deep breath, step away from the web cart because it's probably about $1,000. These are the most expensive kit.
$45 kit, I think, is what it is.
$45 each times 18, whatever that is, because you can take them in units of 6. By the way, that's only 3 drops. Step away from the rub cart. Just chill for 2 weeks. Unless, if you can get out there and win a GT with this in 2 weeks, within 2 weeks, go do it. Someone out there, go do it. And just ring the bell for the green guys, because you will win.
Seems fair.
Well, okay. I wanted to put that out there in the kind of the mind space of just thinking about, because I think that is high on the things that will be talked about and discussed, because it's incredibly powerful. But let's talk about the meat, the root of the Orc Codex. Choppa versus Slugga. What's the best?
Shooda.
Oh, Shooda. My apology. Yeah. Choppa, Slugga versus Shooda. Sorry. I'm getting on
non-orcs.
I know. I'm trying. I'm getting into it. Today, I purchased a Big Mech with a shock attack gun.
We're shaking our head again.
It's so cool looking, though. That's why I got it.
That's how they get you. I got 2 in my box.
Okay, so Choppa versus Shooda. Because I think that Shooda Boys in the back of Death Roller Battle Wagons is pretty good, because with the Evil Sons, you can advance and not take a penalty to firing assault weapons, which Shoodas are.
It all comes how do you want to do it, Paul? Are you going to go in your face trying to run people over and beat them to death with Scar Boys? Or are you trying to get up there, do some shooting, clear out the guard, and still do a charge?
That's what I'm thinking. You clear out this is my opinion, is that you clear out the screen, the picket line in front of the Castellan, and then you run them over with your Evil Sons Death Rollers.
Let me just add some food for thought here. I really believe that you could have taken the Goff rules, given them to Index Orcs, and Orcs would have been perfectly viable. Just with standard builds now, which is a lot of boys. Because then you just give and I don't want to advocate Shoodas, because I actually don't own a single Shooda boy. and I have a whole lot of slug of Choppa, and they're still very good. But a Goff with a Shooter still has 4 attacks. He also is strength 5 in combat, and he has essentially the equivalent of Daka when he's in combat. So those boys are every bit worth their 7 points and are just a nightmare. And why do you need anything to clear chaff when they can just hustle across the table and kill everything in front of them that's T3 and then get to grips at strength 5? Like they can threaten knights, they can fight twice.
Well, you can't fight twice without a price, and you can't fight twice enough to get through 60 guardsmen or whatever. Well, okay, I shouldn't be speaking in absolutes. I'm not sure that they can do that with hustling across the table, but in a battle wagon, you can push them all the way across the table.
How many boys are we talking about?
20 in each, 60 boys.
60 boys.
Well, what? Are they going out for like lunch? What's that?
Well, again, you guys are the experts. Tell me where I'm wrong and what I'm thinking about. And then, but if we can frame it in the context of what is overall better, is it Shooter or is it Choppas?
You want to chop people's head off, but for the sake of balance, strength 5 guys with shooters is really good.
Oh man, it is really good. And I mean, like, this is what I'm saying. There's so much good. Like, I'd never considered doing this, but I mean, if you think of how many boys you'd say in like right now, like 120. If you're sort of breaking a sweat, 120 boys, let's say, is fairly normal for like a Green Tide style list. So you double that, that's 240 shots. A third of those hit. Help me out with a 240 and a third. What is that? 80 hits? What's a third of 80, Paul?
Sounds close.
A
third of 80 would be what?
20 something.
So we're killing 40 something guardsmen before you even have the Daka factored in there. So like they could probably kill all the screens pretty easy. And now what are your knights doing? Your knights are going to come back and they're going to shoot probably a fair amount, but are they killing 120 boys?
Well, they're trying to force morale checks, I would imagine.
Negative. What?
That's a big negative on that one, Paul.
Oh, well, okay. Tell me how that works.
Like, you killed 20 of my orcs, my leadership is still 30 because I'm always within 6 of the next squad. So I just sort of look at you.
And then, say you kill 20 boys, well, for 1 CP in the next turn, those 20 boys, that 10 remaining boys can join one of those 2 units.
The
and
mob
then you have a 40
up. What you're saying is
the mob up. Yeah.
Or spend 3 CP and just do the little Tide of Traitors thing and jump on a flank.
Of course, you could also do that. You can just bring the unit back. Green Tide still 100% is viable, works. And because it's potentially strength 5, can suddenly deal with knights. So like the biggest bane of orcs, or certainly one of them anyway,
is strength 5 again?
Scarboy stratagem. So for 1 CP pre-game, as many times as you want, as many units as you want.
Burn that on a unit. So if you got 3 units of 100 of 30 boys, 90 boys at 3 CP.
Sure, but you probably got 3 battalions or at least a brigade.
Yeah.
Cheapest brigade in orcs is somewhere around 680 points, 650 points.
Ooh, that's
cheapest
battalion. That's in that guard range.
Cheapest battalion would be 30 points plus 110. So you're at 140 for 2 Big Macs and 30 Gretchen.
Yeah.
No big deal. So they've got the CP to back up whatever they want to do. If you're crazy, you can bring blood axes for, regenning on strats. They have I can't remember if it's a relic or a warlord trait, but they can regen command points on 6s. You probably don't even need to, though. Blood axes are a stretch to fit in pretty much any list, for me anyway, so far.
You think blood axes are a contender for up there in the top choices for cultures?
Not really. The Goths are just so good.
I mean, I wouldn't put Goths top 3. We just talked about them for 5 minutes.
Well, the Goths, I mean, they do. They've got that. The culture, the clan culture is that each time you roll an unmodified hit roll of a 6 for an attack with a melee weapon, make a model, made by a model with this culture, immediately make an additional hit roll against the same target using the same weapon. And then they don't generate extra hits.
And I know I was just very flippant there, and I apologize for dismissing Goths because clearly I think they are good. But also, let's think about what we just said. Unless you're using a dice app, like, no orc player, I mean, orc players want to move bodies, but no one really enjoyed except for maybe the most deranged. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But like moving that many bodies and doing it in an efficient way and getting into combat and doing that. Now you're adding a shooting phase with that many shots. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm sure there's more efficient ways to run orcs, and that's probably why I wouldn't personally necessarily do what I just said.
Yeah, the moving the mast, it's actually physically and mentally taxing on a lot of people. I got no problem with it, but I've run you over with that before, right, Paul?
You've been pretty good with the dice. I'll just say that. But you bring up a good point. And I mean, all jokes aside, is that you got to be, if you are taking something like this, you've got to be focused on getting the movement phase. You've got to be communicating with your opponent in a way that is all about the business to get your turns in.
Yeah, getting help from your opponent. Like I've seen, in various movement phases, opponent just helping move boys down range. Dice app is really, really essential for dumping that many dice. I know a lot of people say I like to roll dice. Well, it's obnoxious if you're, to handle.
It depends on how fast you are with the dice. I mean, that's if
no one's that fast.
I mean, that's a fair point too. I mean,
like when I was running a Green Tide with 120 boys, I had 100 dice in a bucket, 40 dice in a bucket, 20 dice in a bucket, and I would just sort of go up and down that way. But even just the act of finding all the ones and twos, all your misses in combat. And then that's tough. Like when you have that many dice, I don't know. I'm an average to below average player, and to me, it was very, very difficult to get through all the dice fast enough.
Yeah,
time, I know it can
be an issue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Time is an issue when you're moving that much stuff. The dice app is the only way if you're going to play hordes.
Yeah, I think with as much as going on, thinking about, like, if you're playing ITC missions, when you're spending time picking your secondaries, when you're thinking about what strategies you're going to use, it all adds up. I think that we are moving to a place where we need to become comfortable with the dice app.
Yeah, and I'm really pleased actually, like out there in podcast land and on the internet. Yeah, no, I think the dice app. It's actually the engine, like the software behind it, is actually really fascinating to learn about. But at any rate, it's. What I'm saying is, essentially, you can take the orc army that, if you're playing in tournaments with orcs and you're trying to like run the best build you can, because people play tournaments with orcs with just like their dudes and have a good time, but they're not necessarily out there working hard. At like the top tables, they're working hard at having a good time. Like last week, we had Rich Kilton, Ben Jurek, both doing really well at the SoCal Open. Both of those guys had a tremendous amount of models on the table and had to hustle all the way through those, I'm sure.
Well, at parts, I mean, they're obviously serious competitors, and you learn that. You learn how to get through your turns, and when you can socialize, and when you've just got to be about the game. That's for sure. So, okay, you haven't answered my question, though. You both are tap dancing around.
What?
Choppas, shooters.
It's all on you. It's how you play. I mean, back when we had index orcs, because I haven't played them since a long time now, but a guy would come at me with berserkers, and I'd kill 3 or 4 with my shooters as he's coming in. Now, Choppas couldn't do that, but I can, if I got the charge on him, I can do more damage. It's just what you want to play. And if you're going against other hordes of guardsmen, all the shooters now are pretty amazing. Like, you could have Bad Moon shooters double shooting, which is unheard of, but you could clear a ton of screen with that.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I would say Storm Boys, Commandos.
I'm jealous of those Storm Boys that you have. I don't mind saying that. You've got 60 Storm Boys ready to go right now.
Yeah, they're locked and loaded, ready to go. And the reason I say that, I think, is a lot of the problems with orcs is that they're just standing there getting shot for 2 turns. So now when you have options for Commandos and Storm Boys who can either cross the deployment zone, in the case of Storm Boys, without in one movement phase, they auto advance 6. If they're Evil Sons, they add 2. They add 1 to both their advance and their movement, 1 to their charge. They're getting across. They don't take 2 turns to get across like a bunch of foot slogging boys do, although you can to jump things. But Commandos, they can also, they have a deep strike ability. So what that means is they can either be on the table and get to where they need to go immediately, or they can be 100% protected off the table. And then when they're coming in, if they're Evil Sons, and this is why it's hard for me to argue anything but Evil Sons, for your combat choices, because even if you're jumping a unit, for example, the jump allows you to pick up and deep strike a unit that's already on the table. You're getting +1 to your charge. You get to re-roll that either dice. The odds of orcs making a 9-inch charge are so much higher now than they were before the Codex.
I do want to talk at some point, just the math about re-rolling 1 die or both is obnoxious.
I think overall it takes it up from like 50%-ish to 75%-ish. I'm talking a little out of my butt, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
It's really high.
Yeah.
When you can choose either or.
So that's why I would say, and by the way, everything I just said about Storm Boys and Commandos, 0 CP investment. So a lot of people are really excited for Teleporta, which, yes, it's super exciting. Having something big coming off. I don't even know what they're called. Gorkanauts?
Morkanaut, yep.
Morkanauts, 3 Death Dreads, you name it, bringing it in off the table edge, up, a battle wagon, whatever. Well, that's a 2 CP investment, right? So that means that you're not double shooting your Bad Moon Ludas that have mobbed up. That means that you're not doing more DACA to make DACA go on a 5 or 6. So anything that you can do to not spend CP pregame and just use the rules you got, I think that's a wise play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. The battle wagon versus the truck thing too. We're talking about, or at least you were talking about, getting folks across the table with standing around for 2 turns. Now the truck, I think the truck is a pretty smart investment.
Maybe if you bring 10.
Well, okay. 10, they're 59 points apiece, base points. That's without war gear or whatever, 59 points. The battle wagon is 120 points. Now, that's a little bit of an understatement because to put the death roller on it, it's another 19 points. So you're looking at 140-ish points for just a battle wagon. That's without a hard case or anything. That's just the base battle wagon.
Mark, I'm just pulling this number out of nowhere, but what do you think of when I say something like 10 trucks all filled with shooter boys?
I don't know if it can do enough damage. I mean, I would put like Burners, Tank Busters, Mega Knobs falling out of them. That more exciting. Or are we talking points?
Well, I know that it fits. I just like, for me, the thing about trucks and even battle wagons, I love battle wagons for teleporta, like 20 flash kits in a battle wagon. Good night. Like, that's so sweet, coming in on the teleporter in the second turn. But like trucks, if there's something important inside of a truck and your opponent wants to kill the truck, it's dead. Like, yeah, it's dead.
Well, you say that, and okay, I don't even want to play devil's advocate on that, but I will point out that you can still have the custom force field on now. If you don't go index choices, it has to be on a big mech and mega armor.
But I don't know. Mark, how do you feel about using the index?
A couple units, but other than that,
Well, it's a reality. I mean, say what you want in a tournament, you're going to find people that use it until Games Workshop says you can't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I see a lot of people being like, "Oh, the Big Mac's not in the Codex." I'm like, so what? Like,
no, I'm not. I'm going to still use my models. They're awesome.
Yeah. Like, no one's even suggested that indexes are going away anytime soon.
No, it hasn't been talked about in the slightest. But
like
the ramshackle
in Age of Sigmar, sorry, Paul. Like, I gotta ask you, you might know this answer. In Age of Sigmar, you got things like Bretonians and stuff. You can still play with those, right?
You can.
We're 2 editions in, and you can still the rules are still there.
Yeah, I mean, it's considered unsupported, but there are some gems in those armies. I won't say they're not, but there has been no scuttlebutt, no talk, no rumors, no nothing of index stuff being retired. Period.
Yeah. So like, whether or not it's good is one thing. Like, and also if you're playing like ETC format, all those guys overseas who play in a lot of ETC tournaments, they don't let you use the index. That's cool. That's a reality in some places. But in most situations, indexes are totally legit. The flowchart is in the designer's commentary. It's not in the.
The only reason I mention it is because of the fact that if that it increases the survivability, and you have to pay a few extra points for just using the Codex to get somebody in mega armor, or you take the custom force field on the regular dude in the index.
Yeah.
But once you factor in the 5+, the fact it's got 10 wounds, and the ramshackle ability, I think you've got some decently survivable transports now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I don't know, man.
But also your point. Now, look, I get it. You guys have some. You guys are the experts, and I'm just interjecting some chatter or whatever. But you brought up the point that if you have some high value targets in those trucks, well, the orcs aren't necessarily built around a bunch of high value targets. They're built around swarms of things that are greater than the sum of their parts.
Well, that's kind of why I suggested, like, you jack them up filled with, like, you make truck boys, I think. And there's lots of people around who'll have 6 trucks on their shelves, right, from back in the day. Like, the original Cult of Speed style, which was trucks with boys in it. I think that could have legs, especially in something that, requires you to be sitting on a lot of objectives, say ITC, things that need to that have you moving around the board a lot. I think that could certainly have legs, and also that becomes annoying, and you have really not a lot to gain by shooting any particular truck. When you put something important in a truck, and it's on the table, it's dead. Like, just straight up dead.
Anytime there's ever been, well, this is my war boss in this truck. Well, I guess you just decided my turn for me. And anytime that you can, and I'll say this till I'm freaking blue in the face, that if you can remove decision elements from your opponent, or if you do remove decision elements, then you're making it easier for them. You've got to give them choices.
So, like, put it to you this way. This is a meta. Like, we're talking tournaments here. That's kind of my only real frame of reference. Like, tournaments is a meta designed to kill knights in one turn. Like, I don't know if we were talking about that pre-show. Like, you gotta be able to kill knights in one turn. You gotta be able to kill wave serpents. Perhaps the most annoying cockroach in civilization right now is the bloody wave serpent. You gotta be able to do that at range. You're telling me if you got a unit of tank busters in a truck, that thing, which is 10 wounds, toughness 6? 5?
It is toughness 6, yeah.
Toughness 6. Go ahead.
Never make it. Never.
He ain't gonna make it. God bless him, but he ain't going to make it.
The ramshackle rules roll a d6 each time this model suffers damage from an attack. On a damage characteristic of more than 1, on a 6, reduce the damage caused by this attack to a 1. So it's not going to happen a lot, but when it does, it'll be pretty epic.
Like, if you think of, like, I could see, like, a truck rush, and we're just talking here, but I could see, like, a truck rush against something like Tau. So now you have a bunch of trucks doing your charge for you, soaking up all that Overwatch and supporting fire. And now you've got maybe a couple mobbed up truck boys units, and they're just going to run in there and they're going to mulch up the screen or, contact whatever they need to do, touch the broadside so they can't do what they do anymore. So, like, yeah, there's stuff there, but I don't think it's for protecting your shooty stuff. I think there's much better ways to do that.
Yeah.
Battle wagons?
No.
You guys don't like battle? Man. Well, that's why we're having this talk.
Mark, what might be a really good way to keep a unit alive on the table?
Behind a Gretchen screen.
Behind a Gretchen screen. Amazing idea. Yes. How many Gretchens?
At least 2 units of 30.
2 units of 30. In fact, if you read the strat, actually, can we read the strat?
Yeah, we can. And I want to check the points on what 2 units of 30 Gretchen will be also.
60. So sorry, that's 90 points.
90 each, yeah.
Gretchen is 3 points a model, with a max unit size of 30. And the stratagem is, what's it called? Grot shields. It's 1 CP. Use this stratagem after a clan infantry unit from your army, excluding units comprised entirely of Gretchen models, has been hit by a ranged weapon. Until the end of the phase, you can roll a d6 each time a model from this unit loses a wound. If there's a friendly unit comprised entirely of clan Gretchen infantry models within 6 inches of it, and the Gretchen unit is closer to the attacking model than the target. On a 2+, the original model does not lose that wound, but one model in the Gretchen unit, your choice, is slain. Otherwise, the model loses a wound as normal.
So that's like a grot fueled feel no pain on a 2-up, basically. From the 7th edition 7th ed folks, it's a lookout, sir. But it is each point of damage.
Let me also state that this is if you were to pick a unit, and if you could then spend 3 extra points to get another wound on that model, would you do it?
What do you mean?
I think that's how you look at it. Is
I see.
Is this good or not? Yeah, okay. I just spent 3 extra points to get 1 more wound on this unit. I think that's amazing by itself. You're not counting the fact that it's on a stick, it's on a body, it's on something that can claim objectives or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the math isn't even that binary, because what it's letting you do, and this is actually I think the real fun conversation. I'd love to hear what Mark has to say about this, but I just want to get the point out, which is. It lets you keep your range shooting alive on the table and not dying. Probably. Things that are 2 damage, high volume of fire weapons, like say a Riptide, they're going to go through a lot of grots real fast. Because they're killing 2 grots for each, wound that they cause.
Do they
by the way I read
60
it.
Wounds?
Exactly. Now, the other thing is the way you read that is it's actually any grot unit within 6 inches. So you don't actually need units of 30 because they're going to be really vulnerable to morale. You can just have, say, if you're running a brigade, 6 units of 10. And you can just vacuum up all of those wounds into those grots and say you can take your... I would say 3 choice units to think about are mobbed up Ludus, 10 and 15, flash kits, or tank busters. And we can talk about that maybe. But those guys can now just freely walk up the table with more DACA, which allows you to do your DACA on a 5 or a 6. They are not suffering any penalties for moving and shooting. because it's an unmodified 5 or 6. They're not suffering any ATOC negatives on 5s or 6s. These guys are just walking murder machines with a quickly evaporating, I'm sure, Graz shield in front of them.
But it's something we've needed for a long time because we've had no firepower that lives past turn 1.
Yeah. Or 1 round of shooting. So yeah, you do get your battle wagon does hang in there on 1 wound. Or, they jump out from behind cover or whatever it is, and then it's dead. So like range shooting in orcs is like, I don't know, DACA jets right now, custom mega cannons.
Ugh.
But so like Mark, what of those would you agree with me? Like, and I'm actually excluding tractor cannons because honestly tractor cannons, the conversation about orcs could end at tractor cannons. Let's assume that tractor cannons will not be the thing that ruins this beautiful, blessed edition. Mark, what is your favorite range shooting option in the book right now?
Ludus. Bad Moon Ludus that I mobbed up to 25. I'm double shooting with them, and I have range. And I'm going to systematically destroy everything that can hurt me from that range. So then I can shift my Grot shield to my boys in front once you have nothing that can touch me.
That was intimidating the way you said that?
Oh, was it? I'm sorry.
That's ferocity. That's what I'm telling you.
You have no idea how happy we are, Paul. Like, you just don't know.
So Bad Moons is reroll hit rolls of 1 attacks for models made with this culture in the shooting phase. Reroll hit rolls of 1. So
yeah. So how much CP are you going to spend per turn on that, though?
Probably first 2 turns you're spending 3, the double shot and 1 for the Grot shield, and hopefully by turn 3 you've killed everything that can reach out to you, or you've got orcs over there touching it so they can't shoot you anyways.
Are you more DACing that?
It's going to be situational. I don't know, because CP's kind of tight.
Yeah.
Is it with a brigade? I mean, I guess I don't know what do you think the best configuration for this is? I mean, is it a brigade? Is it 2 battalions? Is it multiple? Because, we tend to kind of, when we're doing the reviews of things, talk about them as a singular faction across all things or whatever. Are we mixing in cultures and different detachments?
It's a minimum of 2 battalions. If you can get a battalion and a brigade and you're comfortable with what you got, that'd be good. Or 3 brigades, but a minimum 2 battalions. You can't go beneath that, or it's just not. You're like, ugh.
And the more DACA stratagem was use this stratagem before an orc unit from your army shoots in the shooting phase. Until the end of the phase, that unit's DACA ability triggers on an unmodified hit rolls of 5 or 6 instead of 6, meaning that when you do roll the 5, it's as if you rolled the 6, or you're auto hitting them regardless of penalties and whatever. So that's what Val was talking about earlier with hitting the ATOC jets and stuff.
Yeah, without any modifiers. It's a thing of beauty. I'm going to say what my thinking is that I think tank busters in a brigade, and this is just the list, this is the first real list that I've cooked up. I think tank busters as the core of a Death Skulls brigade, walking up with 60 grots. So 15 tank busters, 6 squigs, walking up is pretty good. And the reason why is those guys are really good at killing toughness 8 vehicles, also known as knights, at range. If they do happen to get close, which is my wildest fantasy and dream, they can
do that grenade strat.
They can do the grenade strat. So for everyone at home, that means 10 of those guys get to do each D3 grenade shots, -2 D6 damage each.
But what reality are 10 of them getting within range for their grenades?
Well, when they've got a bunch of grots around them and everyone's advancing every turn, and theoretically they got to come at you too. A lot of like, if we're talking about a pure knight build, which do exist quite a bit, they're not just necessarily sitting back and being like, oh, this is cool. They got things like gallants. You let a gallant get near some tank busters. And what can a gallant do? They can't charge them because they've got a pretty deep screen for at least a turn or 2. And then they certainly, they can't charge them and they can't shoot them because Grot shields. So, neener. The other thing is, too, the tank busters, for those not familiar, they get to reroll hits against anything with the vehicle keyword. The tank bomb squigs, or the bomb squigs, are, they're one-use models. On a 2-up, they hit, and they are strength 8, d6 damage, -2 or 3, I can't remember. But those things,
the tank buster, the squig bomb?
The bomb squig.
It's -2 AP.
-2 AP. So that's forcing the knight onto his 5-up. I would need to closely read the rules to know if you can DACA bomb squig. So get another hit roll if you if you roll a 6 to hit with one.
I'm pretty sure it's any ranged weapon. So let's check that out right now and see if we can get at least a heading to see if that's where we think.
One of the downsides of bomb squigs is that they aren't very good against things with the fly keyword, mostly because they're not allowed to shoot them.
Right. So let's say because they can't. So the Doc rules, each time you roll an unmodified hit roll of a 6+ for an attack with a ranged weapon made by this model and unit, that hit roll succeeds regardless of any modifiers. In addition, immediately make an additional hit roll against the same target using the same weapon.
Okay.
So a Squig Bomb is a range 18 weapon.
There you go. So if you're more DACing with Squig Bombs, say you got 6 of them, so you probably are getting another 2 Squig Bombs for your trouble, and they hit on 2s. So have a nice time with that. So all I'm saying is,
they hit on 2s because the bomb squig is a weapon skill and ballistic skill of 2+.
There it is. Yes. Sorry. Thank you. So that's cool. Busters themselves, they're death skulls. Oh, this is another great thing. So they're death skulls. So their unique clan strat is reroll wounds against vehicles. I think just vehicles. So you're rerolling a hit, you're rerolling a wound. You got 24-inch range. They all have a strength 8, -2, 3 flat damage.
Are you talking about what the tank hammer?
The actual busters do.
The busters have a tank hunter. You can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by this unit that target vehicle units.
Yeah. So they're basically night mulchers. So you have if you have a Castellan sitting in your backfield, orcs can, and let's say you've got him screened out nicely, whatever. He's got to be screened out to 18 inches, because if you get within 18 or 24 ideally, if you get anywhere within that bubble with a jumped unit of tank busters, I haven't bothered doing the math, but I'm going to assume that Castellan's in a lot of hurt.
You can get a pair of rocket pistols in a tank buster.
Yeah. Read the tank
pistol
for the lulz. Read what a tank hammer does. By the way, this actually costs points.
Each time the bearer fights, it can only make a single attack made with this weapon. If the attack hits, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds and the bearer is slain.
It's a 17-point model. Becomes a 27-point model. And it dies.
No, thank you. But that's a cool thing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Is that what we call that, Mark? I don't know.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I'm a big fan.
The tank pistols, or the pistol rockets, it's also called a pair of rocket pistols, is pistol 2, 12-inch range, strength 7, -2 AP, D3 damage.
Is D3?
Yeah, D3.
That was flat 3.
D3 now. The rocket launcher is a flat 3.
There you go.
But that's the same across all the cases.
So Mark, I've made a very long-winded argument for tank busters. What do you think? Am I crazy?
No, I think there's definitely a place, and not just even death skulls. I mean, the reroll to wound is amazing, but what if you double shot them? If you're blood axe, bad moons. There's a lot of potential.
Oh, and rerolling ones too. Oh, got them. Yes. Oh no, it doesn't matter. They reroll everything. Sorry.
Yeah, they reroll everything. But that could be like, and you can jump them like you said. You can spend the 2 CP to keep them off the board if you really have to, but you got the jump, so why not? I'm pretty excited about them. I think the whole thing with the orcs, though, is to keep it simple. Don't get all the flashy stuff. Just keep it simple and grind them down with weight of numbers and weight of coolness.
I like what you're thinking there, Mark. That's what I was about to say, is that we've been talking about the singular units, like having a unit of this, unit of that, and that it's still got the magnet effect. Like if you've just got this unit of tank busters, then what else is this thing shooting at? And knights, remember, if you're relying on but grots to be your shields, heavy stubbers and mortars and stuff will eat those grots up.
Now your 5-up save makes a humongous difference. So now killing those, so that's what I'm referring to, the custom force field. Mm-hmm. So if those 60 grots are underneath the custom force field, and you're like, screw that, I'm not going to bother shooting the tank busters or the ludas. I'm going to shoot the grots instead. Now you got to kill 80 grots. Even if there's 60 there's a third more because it's a 5-up able.
And we were talking about morale all before, but war bosses have the ability to keep things in line, but the unit still suffers mortal wounds, but it's only D3 mortal wounds. So this is, I don't think we talked about this in the last show, but the war boss has an ability called Breaking Heads. If a clan unit fails a morale test while it's within 3 inches of a friendly clan war boss, the war boss can restore order with a brutal display of violence. If they do so, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, but the morale test is then considered to have been passed.
It comes into play rarely, but it's still pretty awesome.
Well,
units of knobs also have that rule, which makes that handy as well. But it doesn't apply to Gretchen. They got to take a runt herd to get something similar.
Well, you got to fill that brigade somehow.
Runt herds don't count.
What?
Yeah, they don't take a detachment slot. Breaking news.
Let me go to that unit.
The runt herd is the same rule for Graz. He's really cool. He's an awesome model too. He's a little pot-bellied dude with a stick. But yeah, he's like one of the only units I've ever seen worded like this. It's really weird.
Well, in the Gretchen, they're an Orc clan infantry. What are you looking for here?
Oh, the actual runt herd entry, which is in the elite section.
Sure, but I'm talking about the war boss's ability on the Gretchen.
He can breaking heads on Gretchen?
If a clan unit fails a morale test while they're within 3 inches of a friendly clan war boss, comma, that's it. The war boss can restore order, and the Gretchen have a clan keyword, faction keyword.
Feel like I gotta look at the Graz rule again. Don't benefit from clan culture and stratagems unless explicitly said. So I guess rules is written. I guess Graz could benefit.
Get that war boss in there.
Yeah.
Or Knob or whatever, if the Knobs have it. It's
pretty.
The Knobs have keep in
runt herd.
Keep in order is roll a d6 for each model that flees from a clan unit that's within 3 inches of a friendly clan unit. With this ability, when the morale test is taken on a 6, that model does not flee. So it's different than the war boss.
That is because I've never actually used knobs.
It's all right. I mean, that's why we're walking through this. I mean, I think that we've been talking a lot about the weird boys and the big mechs or whatever, but the war boss has a place too.
Oh, war boss is awesome.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
So there you go. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about this stuff.
FTN is also on Facebook. Please like us at www.facebook.com/Forge the Narrative.
Hey everyone, welcome to a community spotlight segment on Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul Murphy. I'm joined tonight by Stefan Nordsai and Martijn Meyer.
That's correct. Hello, hello.
Oh, very good, very good. I never hear my name pronounced good, but that's awesome.
Welcome to the show. I want to bring you on to talk about the Alliance Open Grand Tournament. This is in the Netherlands. This is your second year of doing the Grand Tournament, second or third. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's the second year. I actually won last year, and now I'm in the organization. So very good to be here.
And it's growing like a weed. You've got I think doubled in size over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's correct. We started off last year for the Rogue Trader tournament of around 40 players, if I'm correct, right, Martijn?
Yeah, 40 and then 46 at the GT.
Yeah. And then now for this year, it was actually, I believe, 80 players for the RTT, and now our upcoming Grand Tournament will host 120 players coming in.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're overwhelmed by it as well, but, going with the flow.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people find out information about the event? Where can they go and look right now while we're talking?
They can go to either our Facebook page, the Alliance Open, just, search that up in Facebook, or they could go to the alliancearmory.net, where you'll find our webpage with our events, but also our store. If you'd like to buy, we make our own terrain, which is actually one of our spearheading points at the tournaments. We want quality tournaments, which means a great venue, great terrain, which we make ourselves, and a great organization. So there you go.
This is coming up November 17th and the 18th.
That's correct.
So kind of right around the corner.
Right now we're sold out, but our waiting list is about 8 people, and we noticed that there are a few with family issues right now, other issues, can't even paint their army, so they drop out, and that's how it goes. And if you have a friend who goes but he can't come, you can always transfer your ticket to him, so that's no problem.
You guys are like right near the airport too, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. It's I believe 10 minutes. You can take the plane to Schiphol Airport. You can take the bus from there, and it's about 10 minutes to the actual hotel. And it's a big hotel where we rent a fairly large conference room. It's very white, pearly, and pristine, so you'll feel very posh while playing with your toys.
I like that.
And usually there will be weddings over there, so there will be chandeliers. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
We ask them to remove them, but sometimes they're still there. And it's a 10-minute shuttle, and it's for free. So you just go near Schiphol, and then in 10 minutes you're there. And very comfortable rooms. The hotels are known for their okay prices. So
Yeah, it's very affordable, everything. So it's a 2-day tournament. So we'll host the first day on Saturday. It'll be 3 games of 40K. And, after that, everybody there, even though it's only our second year, a lot of people already know each other. And it's very open. It's very amicable, Even if you don't know anybody, you know everybody because everybody is just very friendly. So after the day, we'll all go to the restaurant. You have some great restaurants there as well. We'll have a laugh. We'll have a beer. We'll have a talk. And then after that, you can retire to they really are pretty comfortable hotel rooms. And you'll just have a rest and load up, ready for the next day, which will be on Sunday. And that will be 2 games. And after that, you'll have your prizes, etc., etc. Last year was phenomenal. We had really a lot of great positive feedback, which we took into account, and that's how we grew into 120 players this year, and we're very excited.
That sounds pretty awesome. So tell me a little bit about the format of the tournament itself.
Sure, Martijn?
Well, it's 5 games. Every game will be 3 hours or 3 hours and 50 minutes. It's 2,000 points. Normal 3 detachment rule, 3 max 3 of everything, and then one thing that's special is we do a kind of ETC-like missions. We have Eternal War and the Maelstrom, and then the tertiaries, the normal Warlord, Linebreaker, and First Blood. But the Maelstrom missions are edited, so you can discard up to 9 cards of your Maelstrom deck, which makes it a little bit more different than other tournaments. We did it at our RTT, and a lot of people liked it. And then
so people can self-remove. They can come to the game with their Maelstrom deck trimmed by 9 cards.
Yes, and it's always the same trim, so you can't do a different discard different cards every game. So we thought about it when a commander is up there in space, say hold the line and advance in the same turn. That's kind of not normal, It's really weird to get those cards. So then you just we've had a few listen already, and you see almost everyone discarding either hold the line or advance, because it's abnormal to have these 2 in your list.
I get you. No, that sounds pretty cool. So each mission is going to have a combination of Maelstrom of War and Eternal War, and then those the normal, the routine tertiaries.
Yes, exactly. You have First Blood, Linebreaker, Slay the Warlord, that stuff.
So what are people playing for? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Martijn.
Well, in Holland, we noticed that there's a few years ago there was a lull in all the people coming to tournaments, so we comped our things, our army list 2 years in a row already. So the rule of 3, we actually did that already 1.5 years ago. And right now we did a few things with the CP farm. Well, since the big FAQ changed that already, we reverted it, but we wanted to keep a little bit, not ahead of the meta. That's not the correct words, but we want to think with the other people how we should improve this game, and not by changing it in a major way, but maybe some small differences. Just
you made some tweaks along the way where you just want people, I guess, to improve their overall tournament experience in your area.
One of the big things like we really try to do is keep our ears open for what the community has to say. So, we do a questionnaire after where people can come in and give feedback, and really try to take that feedback to heart and change it. So that's what we've done with these rules. People saying, CP is way too powerful for certain armies right now. Our Maelstrom deck sometimes doesn't make sense. Why am I shooting army and suddenly I'm commanded to go take enemy lines, right? So it doesn't make sense, and we really try to listen to those things as a way to improve our tournaments, and it has people really giving positive feedback about those things.
Yes, nice to hear. So what are people playing for? What are they trying to win? What are your award categories over the course of the weekend?
So we have first, second, and third place as usual. We have best sportsmanship. We have best painted. We have usually we have a wooden spoon award as well.
Yes.
We have a raffle next to the tournament, and then we're thinking about looking how to get best faction prizes in not a extreme way, because we just started as a company, so we don't have a lot to spend already. We want to do that in the future, but right now we're just building up. So we're not going extreme on all spot price support, but if you win, we have a shop over there, one of our sponsors, Tabletop Kingdom. They will be over there and they'll grant you, I don't know how much it is already, but we wanted to, scale it accordingly. And we have a lot of other sponsors like Spellcrow, KR Multicase. So when you come up first, you get a KR Multicase bag. You get some Spellcrow stuff, you get a discount or whatever. So it's quite a big price support this year.
What type of armies do you normally see? So how do you think the format lends itself to people's list building?
Well, it's a pretty competitive tournament. You see, recently, last RTT, you saw a lot of knight lists. You saw a lot of Eldar lists, a lot of high competing codexes running around there, doing very well. We also have a lot of armies, for people that come in and don't play very competitively. I'd say, they just want to have a great day and they come in and they can do pretty well as well. What we have noticed is we have a certain rule we've adjusted for this GT is when you table someone, you get a automatic 20 points. That plays very much in the hands of knight players and other armies that would just like to forgo the entire Maelstrom and Eternal War and just would like to kill someone, right? So you'll get the max points. That was a little too much, so we actually adjusted that this week or last week, I believe. Well, either way, we recently adjusted it, and I think it's now a format that very much plays into multiple playing style armies where if you want to be very aggressive, you can. Tabling someone will still get you a lot of points, but it won't give the losing player an automatic 0 points, which was one of the main things people had a hard time, dealing with. And then also if you want to play the missions and play, very board control, you can. It's a very flexible format in that sense.
Awesome. I like to hear that, with basically being able to take multiple styles of army and still be able to compete for mission points and do well, place very well in tournament in general.
Yes.
And especially in 5 games, if you usually in the 3-game tournament, if you don't come against your anti-list, then you can win by tabling 3 guys, and that's in a 5-game tournament. It loans itself for more diverse play. So we have quite a lot of international players coming as well, and we're really excited to see what they bring, because our meta is kind of different. It's not very different, but we have a lot of people who just want to play the nice units in their army, but they're quite good at it because they're playing this for years and years, because the Dutch people they don't throw away their money. So when they play their army, they play it for a very long time, and they usually know all their tricks and everything they can do with their own army.
Guys, it's really great to talk to y'all. So it's the Alliance Open Grand Tournament. You have an event on Facebook right now that people can check out. You've got the website where people can check out the terrain and everything that's going on. Is there anything else you'd like to cover before we wrap this up?
Yeah, certainly. If you want to watch the tournament live, we are live casting it on Twitch. That's Alliance Open. I'll be the host. I'll be co-hosting with a good friend of mine, and we did that last RTT as well, and it'll be a blast. It'll be real fun.
That's awesome. I will put the links to the events and everything in the show notes for the show. Hopefully, you guys, I can check in with you after the event and see how things went.
Certainly.
Sure, man. Sure. And next year we'll even up the ante for maybe about 140, 150 people, the GT. So next year, everyone who doesn't have a ticket, you can get one then.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys have a good rest of y'all's night, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul. Cheers.
You're listening to Forge the Narrative.
Hey everybody, we are back. I got Mark Parker and Val Heffelfinger here, still with us.
Hey, still here, guys. Still awake.
Still rocking.
It's an accomplishment because we're deep in this show now. Okay,
deep in the green tide.
The Runt Herd, since we were talking about it earlier, it is an elite slot, and it has the Squig Hound and a Grot Lash. Reroll hit rolls of 1 in the fight phase for attacks made by their units comprised entirely of Gretchen infantry while they are within 3 inches of a friendly Runt Herd model with a Grot Lash.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's good for your big units. If you're rocking those big units 30, and there's good reasons to do that, then yeah, you're gonna want to run herd back there because Grot leadership is 4, 5.
It may be, but I mean, you don't need that. I mean, you need the war boss. If your army is battle-forged, you must include at least one unit comprised entirely of Gretchen infantry and a detachment for each runt herd unit in the detachment. Runt herd units do not take up slots in the detachment, so you can add him in. But he's not necessary.
The only reason would be like the big units with him there is to deny kill points for ITC.
So check out Squighound on the Run Herd entry, Paul.
If a unit comprised entirely of Gretchen infantry fails a morale test while it is within 3 inches of any friendly Runt Herd model, with a Squighound, ignore the results. There you go. D3 models from the unit are slain instead. So yes, I guess he would be a supplement if you did not feel like keeping a war boss back there.
Correct.
I'm with you.
Yeah, the Run Herd's pretty. Yeah, he's a handy dude. I think the way I'm thinking about it right now, because immediately I was like, I need Run Herds, and also same idea, Mark. Like I thought, I'm going to fill out a detachment with these dudes, and then unfortunately, apparently, the rules writers thought that'd be OP. That's cool because I got tank busters and commandos to fill out those slots. No problem. I got this.
The Run Herd is 35 points. No, thank you.
Run Herd 35 points. But I mean, if he's standing with, like, if you got big bricks of Gretchen, because if you have a unit of 30 as opposed to 3 units of 10, well, now you can string those things out like a mile, and you can really block off a massive piece of the table. You can wrap them around because in order to use the Grot shields, they've got to be between you and the unit that's firing. So there's lots of reasons why you'd want big units, and if you have big units, you want to Run Herd, or else you're just going to lose them all to morale. Also, I've been sounding really authoritatively, Paul, and I really want to remind the audience that I said Fire Warriors could possibly be one of the best infantry units in the game. So we're going to want to take old Val's opinions on things with a big old hunk of salt.
The Squighound is 0 points, so I mean you're looking at a 35-point investment for this dude. And he doesn't take up a slot in a detachment. So that is good and bad. I think you've really got to, if you're trying to maximize CPs, then maybe this guy is not the best option for you. But it depends on how long you plan on having your Gretchen shield live. Because if your war boss is going to start back there near them in turn 1, if you need these guys in turn 2 and 3, you want to be investing in the Run Herd.
That's a very fair point. And those Grots are probably not alive in turn 2.
I don't know.
Certainly not.
We're talking about Ludas. We're talking about bringing things on, teleporting and, whatever. I mean, I don't know that they aren't. I'm just saying that's how I would consider whether or not I needed this guy as part of my roster.
Yeah.
Fair.
Were you planning on a Run Herd, or did the detachment thing break your heart?
The detachment thing hurt me, but if my war boss can do the same thing, I can conga line like the best of them, so I don't care.
Yeah, I think you're just burning these guys as extra wounds. I mean, not the Run Herd, but I mean the Gretchen in general. So, and people are okay, let me also talk about the grim reality of that a lot of this game is decided in turn 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean that there's no reason to play to turn 5 or whatever. You certainly got to claw and scrape for every point, and well-designed missions are going to insist that you do. But you can get a really good idea where this game is going, where your individual game is going in turn 1 and 2.
I mean, I'm being honest here. I'm essentially fantasizing a world where nobody can kill or work their way through all 60 Grots in turn 1. Everybody lives smiling and laughing through, 2 rounds of shooting. And then everything that I deep strike on the table at the top of turn 2 magically makes their 9-inch charge on 2d6. Obviously, there's going to be games where, even your evil sons, they ain't making that charge. Even if you have 4 units, you're going to blow all those charges. So, this is a dice game, and as wicked as this looks right now, dice will decide, and we will abide.
On the same page as the Burna Boys, and I wanted to like them because in editions past they've been incredibly strong, but I think that units like this are taking a backseat to the basic boy in this case. I think we're going to see a big pendulum swing. You're either going to see a bunch of boys or you're going to see a bunch of Meganobs. Do you think there's a place for Burna Boys in a list now, in a tournament list?
Not really. It's just so hard to get them to be useful.
It's one of those things where you're going to have to commit. So you'd have to get probably 3 of them. You're going to need 3 different trucks, and then you can go out there and try and make them work. Whether it works, I don't know. What's the power level of a full unit of Burna Boys?
You mean the points or
power level? The
actual power level? Oh yeah, I get it. Okay, so they start at power level 3, and then 10 additional Burna Boys get you power level 6. So you can have 15 for power level total of 9.
So the Blood Axe, although I was going to say you could bring them in with the blood axe stratagem and sort of cheaply deep strike them. But then you're outside of their burner range anyway, so why are you doing that?
The Mega Blaster, 24-inch range, Assault 1. Now, these guys are still in 5, so, we know whatever. But Strength 8, Neg 3 AP, D6 damage. So it's like a mini las cannon.
The custom Mega Blaster?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. What are you seeing with that guy? What, the mech?
Yeah. You can take one custom Mega Blaster. Each spanner is armed with stick bombs and either a custom Mega Blaster, big shooter, or rocket launcher.
Oh, yeah, it's Mega Slugger. Is that the pistol one?
There is no Mega Slugger.
Oh, no, this is the weapon that the mech
custom
himself has.
Mega Blast. He's like the sergeant or whatever for the Burner Boys.
D6 damage. I think that's
now,
up.
if you roll a 1, he suffers 1 mortal wound.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, no.
But, I mean, look, sometimes you play lists where you're trying to find maximize ways to get the special weapons in there. I just wanted to point it out there as something to discuss.
The Mega Blaster costs, let's see.
The custom Mega Blaster, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
The custom Mega Blaster is 9 points.
9 points. Not too shabby.
I mean,
how many can you get per squad?
Hitting on 5s. 1.
Maybe if we were talking Death Skull Burner Boys.
Okay, let me tell you that. Every 5 models, you can take a spanner.
Okay, squeeze in 2 of them.
You can have
not bad.
3.
Somebody's going to make it work somewhere.
That's the thing. Like I said this on the last show, and again, I will remind you things I've said in the past about things, and I've been totally wrong. So I will say this: I describe them as sort of Eldari-like, that they've gotten the Eldar treatment. I stand by that without a single dice being rolled. And absolutely no real world experience to back that up. But I feel like Burner Boys are one of those units that they're not bad. I mean, this is a classic. This is not a bad unit. And if you really love Burner Boys, I promise you can find a way to make them work. They're 12 points, so they've taken a big drop in points, which is fantastic. They still have the sort of hokey pokey orc version of a Burner, which is D3 shots, assault D3, 8-inch auto hit, whatever. In my head, immediately I'm thinking, why not just bring Shooter Boys, 30 Shooter Boys instead? Like a bunch of Burner Boys, say 20 Burner Boys in a battle wagon. At the very minimum, Paul, that sounds like fun. With a Def Roller on the front, they get out, they mob up, they're in combat, they all got -2 AP weapons now, because that's what happens melee when you use your Burner. They focus the torch, and they go cut up some power armor. So yeah, why not? Burner Boys, go for it. If your Orky heart loves Burner Boys, I'm not going to tell you don't do it.
And you war bosses were giving me a hard time about the shock attack gun earlier.
Oh, big time.
I'd like to talk about the shock attack gun for a minute.
Of course you do.
60-inch range.
Yep.
D6 shots.
Problematic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before firing the weapon, you roll to determine the strength. If the result is 11 plus, each successful hit inflicts D3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage.
Sounds good.
So it's probably 1 billion points, but it is
25?
Neg 5 AP.
Could I draw the court's attention to the Death Skull's Warlord trait, which is reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by your Warlord that target enemy vehicle units. In addition, in the shooting phase, the Warlord can target enemy character units within 18 inches, even if they are not the closest enemy unit. I didn't realize there was an 18-inch limiter on there, so it kind of ruined it for me, but I think that'd be kind of lolsy, just having a shock attack gun,
we're all
Warlord
talking
sniper.
About just the math about how do you killing knights on turn. The tournament situation is, can I kill a knight on turn 1? Can I kill a knight? That's it.
You totally can, just not with shock attack guns.
Now, here's one that's going to...
I'm sorry.
I was driving home, and here's one that hit me. If you want a cheap battalion, 3 mechs with shock attack guns and 30 Gretchen. Death Skulls. Bam.
Or even just, two shock attack guns, yeah?
Yeah, 2 or 3. But make them Death Skulls, so at least you're getting all those rerolls. It sort of makes it better. But I know I can sit there and roll 1s and 2s like a champ if I had those for my amount of shots. So
I love anything with a 1-shot weapon for Death Skulls. So like we were talking about mech guns earlier and whether or not they might have clan traits. I think the index option. So like I'm just assuming mech guns right now. We got the FAC Watch up. Paul's got the countdown clock up. We're waiting for it. We're gonna find out what happens. But for me, big guns, the cannon, which is an index option. It's 27 points, strength 8, one shot, 36-inch range, I believe -2 AP, D6 damage. So it's like what's the missile on? It's like a Storm Strike missile. That's pretty good. And that one will definitely be able to reroll the hit, definitely be able to reroll wounds, and definitely be able to reroll damage.
And they're like 20-something points, right? They're dirt cheap.
27 points. And they still get Grot Gunners, assuming, again, in the fact they don't change an index option, which... Do they do that?
It certainly has happened, yeah. I mean, especially thinking about Yunari.
True that. So, I don't know. If they go back in retro, I'm really curious, because, like, there's lots of index options, for example. They don't have Deka. You know, like, every Orc unit has Deka. So, like, none of the index options do. Like, Forge World units, we haven't talked about any Forge World units, like... Zardsnark is a mess. He's one of my favorite war boss options. He's a mess in the index. Obviously, none of those options have any of the new rules necessary. So maybe they'll have to go in there and change things, and maybe this fantasy will end. But where I'm standing right now, maybe cannons OP.
Yeah, well, let me talk a little bit about the tournament that I went to this past weekend. If only to give some analysis. Assault was non-existent.
How come?
It just really, I mean, outside of a knight assaulting or whatever, it almost just didn't exist. And most people didn't seem like they were prepared for it either. And the reason I mentioned that is I think that leads to being in line with us. What I think what we've all said, orcs are going to have a huge impact on what the top list look like.
So what would your list do against some of the stuff we talked about today?
The list I took what I took was 3 Hemlocks and a Crimson Hunter Exarch, 15 Guardians, a unit of Dark Reapers, some Rangers, and a Farseer Yvrain, and an Autarch on a jet bike. So that was like a really long way of saying I would just dive to 120 boys.
Be a sticky situation.
I mean, there would have to be, I don't even know what there would have to be. I think it would be, I would look at that and just be, I don't even know what I'm doing. I mean, of course I'm hoping a lot of things go right, but with stratagems being what they are, being with the fact that my guns are 12-inch range, and so I'm going to be trying to rely on Overwatch. I mean, outside of the Reapers, and then the planes are really good at killing big things. They're not really. Yeah. I mean, they're good at killing everything, but they excel at killing a large thing with lots of wounds. They don't.
It's a big thing meta. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge shift. I mean, I played someone with 6 Eldar flyers.
Well, with some mech guns and Ludas, double shooting with extra 5. Yeah, we can clear the sky pretty quick.
Yeah. No, he's doing nothing to these orcs. I mean, I've at least got, well, maybe I get lucky with the Reapers. Let's roll it out. But then I feel like it's just, I'm probably just playing a mind trick on myself for the first 2 turns with what the orc can bring to the table, without trying too hard. So do I think Eldar are screwed? No, I do not. I absolutely do not. What I'm saying is this will change what you see.
So like, let's flip the script here. You've got 2 mouth breathing orcs losing their minds, thinking that they we're riding high right now. Mark, am I wrong about that? Are you excited about this?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, we're pretty fired up over here, Paul. You're a fellow filthy Xeno scum. You play a lot of Eldar. I know it's not your only army by far, but you like your Eldar. What are you thinking? Like, where does your mind go? Seeing this green horde of shooting, chopping maniacs coming at you.
I mean, my initial thought was like, I guess I just need more wave serpents, because that's a way out, right? I mean, that is something I think. Like, let me just add a bunch more wave serpents. But even then, like, wave serpents, they're only putting out, well, I shouldn't say they're only putting out. They're putting out, at most 8 shots from the top gun, and that's with scatter lasers. And 4 shots from a shuriken catapult, from a twin-link shuriken catapult or 3 shots from a shuriken cannon. So, what is that? 11 quality shots at the most per wave serpent.
Yeah.
That's per wave serpent. And then now they can fly, they got a lot of range, but there's only so much room on the board. So I think that's probably what I would like to try to do is put all those points from the flyers into wave serpents and then see what happens.
Do you think there might be a horde answering hordes thing going on?
Yeah, absolutely. And where I'm going with that is if I do that, if I plan on just killing orcs, then I don't have a good answer for the knights.
Well, I mean, out there are competitive builds that are a ton of wave serpents and guardians, and those guys actually do work against knights because they've got all those serpent shields that can pop
serpent
up.
Shields firing off mortal wounds and stuff like that.
And then,
so I think that's probably where I would adjust, but it is an adjustment.
Yeah,
wave serpents aren't. I'm not saying you're hurting my feelings about taking wave serpents because they are awesome. They're so good. Had a single wave serpent single-handedly win me my last game for the bracket championship.
And how did it do that, Paul?
Well, my opponent's dice helped also, but he fired his entire army into this wave serpent because the wave serpents, they reduce the damage, each damage they take by 1 to a minimum of 1. And then you put spirit stones on it, which you then try to ignore that damage that you take. And so you're basically taking minimal damage from an army. And if that opponent is then rolling poorly, then you essentially have an invulnerable tank that is nothing but a frustration machine.
That is perhaps the best description of a wave serpent I've ever heard. A frustration machine. How many things shot that wave serpent?
There are 3 knights.
Yeah.
1 Castellan.
I'm so mad.
2 knights that had battle cannons and Gatling cannons. I think he had 1 that had a gauntlet and a Gatling cannon. And then 2 that had missiles and then a bunch of mortars. And at the end of round 1, he had done 10 wounds to the wave serpent.
That's awesome. How many Spirit Stone saves did you make?
Minimal. I mean, really, I'm telling you, a lot of this was on him.
Okay.
I mean, I made some. I definitely made some.
That's what I'm talking about. Best laid plans are ruined by a swing of the dice. Like that is a real thing. I know that first magical reroll either dice 8-inch charge from Deep Strike I try to make. I am not getting there.
He went first. I did use prepare positions.
Nice.
Which is, it's awesome for everybody.
Super dope for wave serpents, though.
Yeah, I like to imagine clouds and mist rolling in to protect my flyers and wave serpent.
And the horrible part is I can still remember when wave serpents were more terrible than they are now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I hear a lot of people complaining about how stupid it is that prepared positions applies to vehicles. Has no one seen tanks dug into stuff
camo netting and stuff? I mean, there's all
camo netting. Tanks can prepare. They can get right in there, man. Positions can be made for tanks.
It's great, and it's just enough. I mean, when you're affecting that little bit of the die. To give you a puncher's chance sometimes, and I like it. But that really, I'm telling you, I did all this preparation, lightning reflexes, lightning flash reactions, prepare positions, but it really was his dice. I'm not congratulating myself. It was remarkable how many 1s and 2s he rolled.
Sometimes your opponent rolling 1s and 2s is a skill.
Yeah.
And that you've discovered it.
Yeah. And so his dice went from absolutely ice cold to mediocre in round 2, and that's not how you're going to win against my list.
If I could hijack the conversation because you sparked an idea about orcs, and that's all I'm thinking about. I'm going to get my wife is my boss, but she's going to fire me soon if I don't stop thinking about orcs. All I was going to say was prepare positions is really good for 2CP. Orcs have the big KFF strat, which you can do at the start of a battle round, which extends the range of a custom force field to 18 inches. So that is that's a 3-foot across bubble. So that's basically an invulnerable prepared position, which is pretty sweet.
I dig
for orcs, because orcs only get 5-up saves. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is about. So there were almost no one prepared for assaults. I mean, what I fought 3 Knights and Guard in round 1. I fought Death Guard in round 2.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and it was kind of a mishmash list. It wasn't what I would consider a super optimized Death Guard. Round 3, I fought a Shadow Sword and a Baneblade.
Okay. These are all exactly what you want to see too.
Yeah. Round 4, I fought the 6 Eldar Flyers with 2 Wave Serpents. And then round 5, I fought the 3 knights in guard again. I'm telling you, none of those were prepared for a boots on the ground type. Like, I mean, I don't mean the rule boots on the ground. I'm talking about like a horde of things coming across the table trying to tear their heads off or score objectives or whatever.
Well, even think like take Mark's unit of 30 Gretchen. Like you take if you don't have a screen, you can take that unit. You don't even have to send boys in. You could send 30 Gretchen, put them 9 inches away from those knights, and just wrap around them. And they can't advance past their deployment. Like they can't advance past that line of Graz until after their shooting phase. So
that's
like
funny.
you can just hem in knights with throwaway units, or you can do that with a unit of boys and maybe they make the charge or whatever, but they're not probably doing anything to the knights. But you know what I mean? Like without screen, like you don't even need screens for just anti-shooting out there in tournaments. Like you need them to be able to control the board.
Yeah, and orcs are going to give a nice, since no one's seen them in so long, they're going to give a nice answer to these chaos cultist lists.
Now, why do you think that?
Well, I think because just the amount with the shooter boys and the amount of attacks, the higher strength attacks, and they bring 40 back. Well, I brought 30 back, and they're chasing you. I mean, it's just going to match up so nicely,
30
especially
back with 120 attacks or more.
Yeah, something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, it's going to put a little fear in them, and the strength of their list is their smite, and yeah, I don't care. Or, I'm jumping a demon prince. Well, you jumped 30 boys. Okay. Wow, that's nice. Kill 5. And the beatdown commences. I mean, No one's seen orcs in so long because without stratagems, we were playing on hard mode or clans. Now that we have it, it's a level playing field. And I don't think anybody remembers what it's like to deal with 150 orcs that are coming at you.
With tricks.
With crazy good tricks. Like it's not even like we just got clan rules and strats. Like the blood axes, which we kind of talked about, that's like 3 of the Tyranid high fleets in one in their one clan rule. It's just I don't know. The orcs have been given a lot of good. I do want to think though, like what am I particularly afraid of? And I gotta think like Tau off the top of my head.
Oh, stop it!
Always.
Because they do have one of the best infantry models in the game.
A drone?
Yeah. I mean, they can make as I played the what I thought was an unassaultable castle. As long as you come at them with more than one unit at a time, that Overwatch, it'll kill at least one of those units or hurt it real bad. But after that, they're getting basically dragged down into combat and they're in a lot of hurt. But I don't know. I feel like there are definitely going to be things, especially because there's a lot of smart players out there. The meta will shift to deal with this because, and maybe it will be two.
Of course, but it has to shift. I mean, it does. It has to compensate because right now the things that we're seeing, I don't think. I mean, they just can't deal with it. And I shouldn't say can't deal with it. They don't have the tools in the current top list right now to deal with this number of threats and just number of bullet catchers.
Yeah.
Quality bullet catchers. It's not just a grind. It said if they happen to get over and touch you, it's going to matter. And you can't mitigate it. You have to deal with them in some other way than just hoping you have enough shots to deal with it.
Yeah. I feel like quality screening will need to come back in a big way for sure. Fearless quality screens would make a big difference. Because, again, everything that I'm fantasizing about really depends on buying me 1 or 2 turns. But eventually everything will be on the table, right? So and eventually I run out of grots. So, if the game gets far and you can hold back that green tide and you can make me whittle down the things I'm trying to protect, then, there's definitely a game to be had there for sure.
No, yeah. But maybe the orc player just sort of hangs out at 18 inches shooting you with his sluggas. That's hilarious too.
I love having answers. I love it. It's amazing.
It's a green new world. That's where I'm saying. I'm really excited about the Codex. I mean, so excited. I told you. I posted on Twitter that I am committed to starting some orcs, and I am. That's one of the reasons where I'm so excited about talking with you guys who have all the experience and the know-how and the strategy and about the best way to do it. I think there's an argument for several best ways to do this.
Oh man,
mine
absolutely
includes a shock attack gun.
And Paul, because in the interest of maybe one day being invited back, I would like to apologize to you and all of the shock attack gun fans out there for my comments earlier in the program.
No, look, it's all right. It's all right.
I own 2 of them, I promise, and they look really great in my battle phone.
This is me. Like, I get attracted. I even said it. Like, I want more boys and less toys. And then I'm thinking, like, well, I want 3 battle wagons.
Yeah, go toys.
I know, right? I know the toys are just good.
Like Luda's flash gits and tank posters, everything I just said. At the end of the day, they're still orcs, so you could just run big mobs of those guys, and they can still go beat you up. You know what I mean? Like, you could just go all shooty, just forget about bringing like actual choppy options. Try and protect them however you can, and just shoot and beat people up, and that would be so much fun. I'm sure.
There will be some fun. Yeah. See, Dakajets. Okay, we haven't even talked about the Dakajets.
War bikers.
I think Nub bikers are really going to be strong, especially with their ability to shoot a lot.
The shoot a lot strategy.
Well, the shoot a lot strategy on the fight, you get the shooting on the bikes is basically free. They have an Assault 3 Daka gun that's strength 5.
Yeah. And they can fire and fade.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can also advance and shoot. It's Assault 3.
Yeah. So like that. So there's a Evil Sun strat for any Speed Freak model. It can make a move in the shooting phase, like a full move again. So and I think they auto 6, right? They auto advance 6, or am I crazy?
I think they auto advance 6 if they're the Speed Freak, right? I'm sorry, if they're Evil Suns.
I think I'm just crazy. No, they just add 1. They just add 1.
Add 1. Okay, yeah. That's it. Yeah.
There are things that auto advance 6, but not these guys. But like, so you can get up there with an 18-inch range because you got a 14-inch move plus, D6 plus 1. So it's 15-inch move base, at least a 2-inch advance. So you're moving 16 inches. You can then shoot 18, and then you can go hide somewhere else for 1
charge
CP.
With all your power claws and stuff.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you're going to want to charge.
Upgrades are the new toys, probably.
Well, especially the Death Killer War Trike and stuff. I mean, the Death Killer War Trike has the same. He's moving the exact same with them.
Yeah,
he's getting up there with his strength 7 Snagga Claw.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably own Knob bikers, and all of them have slightly different war gear. Am I correct?
That's pretty much the case, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
There may be a retrofit.
When I came into 7th, I was like, yeah, man, have orcs ever been good? And then someone sat me down. I was like, there was this time about there were knob bikers. They explained how it worked. But yeah, I don't know. Knob bikers are sweet. Like, just like what I was saying about Burnos. Like,
well, 3 wounds apiece.
Make something work. Yeah.
Okay. 3 wounds apiece on a toughness 5 model.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to play a lot of this stuff and actually see how it rolls out. I mean, we can talk about a lot of it, but I mean, some of these specialty things like knob bikers and stuff, I mean, they may just be like, oh my god, they're so good. But I think I'm a slow learner. I got to move them around a few times before I can really settle on stuff like that.
Yeah, without the built-in cover, the 4+ cover save they used to have, those wounds probably could go pretty quick, considering they only have a 4+ armor save.
Well, you can. I mean, once you get to your movement phase, so if you can get them to survive a turn, they can get a -1 to hit with a strat, although it's 2 CP, so it's a bit pricey. Yeah. But you can, I mean, so is that unit. So, like, you can keep them alive if you commit to them, and you can have a unit of up to 12 of these guys. So it's one of those things where there's a lot, so you have the fire and fade thing that I just talked about, and you have the -1 to hit strat that I just talked about. So like there are things that you can use with stratagems to take this and make, for example, you love knob bikers, you want to make that the center of your army, you can build around this, and there's the stratagem support support to do it.
You could have small number of drops too with battle wagons backed up by bikers. I mean, you're putting a lot of points and hiding some of your drops. So you increase that opportunity to go first, which means you get make more move. You get to make more of an issue out of the fact that you've got that huge reach out and touch someone range.
And at the end of the last show, I was making a big deal out of the Warlord trait that allows you to redeploy D3 of your units and your Warlord. And that's why. So these knob bikers can be set up, ready to go. You don't get first turn. That's cool. They're going behind this gigantic building.
Well, I mean, we used to live in a world where the deployment zones were always 24 inches away from each other. We don't anymore. It's, depending on the alternate deployment zones, which you roll randomly for, but, before the game starts. Now, with what did we say? It's 15 plus, it's a minimum of 17-inch movement or something like that, with an upside of even more. So you're going to be able to threaten things deep into your opponent's deployment zone. So if they have some things on the table or whatever that you want to put up and put those assault 3 guns. I mean, when you factor in the Daka, and if you had 10 war bikes, that's 30 shots. It's a lot of shots. Quality, string 5.
Yeah.
Not arguing.
All right, I know. I'm sorry. I'm coming in hot.
I want them to be good too.
Well, I guess I'm just making a case for that you can sink points into things that reduce your drops, but it also gives you effectiveness. Like they're not wasted. You're not doing that for only the go first mechanic. There's just so many ways to play this army. That's where I'm going. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
Amen. I believe you. I 100% believe that statement. And for me, like that center unit, like that thing that you build the rest around, for me, it all started with the shooty options. So, like, what are the things that, because we don't have them right now, like, or it's just not an option. It's like they don't exist. Our long range weapon is a dejumped unit of boys right now. So, like, which is pretty sweet. Which is pretty sweet, but like nonetheless, so like that was where my eye went. So everything I've been thinking about so far, and this is just where my eyes fell for the first time, is what can I build around those really good long range shooting units. And so that's why I rambled about what I rambled about. There's probably
your Ludas are solid. Ludas, if you take nothing from our lustful conversations about the orcs, Ludas with a screen of Gretchen is pretty good.
Pretty good. CP intensive, but very good.
But you get to fire them. And Ludas, when they shoot...
We didn't even really talk about it, did we?
No, I don't know. Not in great detail, I guess. But, we got a few more minutes, so let's do it.
You want to lead this one, or you want me to dive in?
I lusted after tank buses, and you liked your Ludas. Like, exactly what did Ludas do? Like, they're shooting.
Well, what Ludas are giving is the long range. They're outranging most of their opponents, but it's just the volley fire. It's just wearing people down, high strength. The -1 is great, but the flat 2, I mean, you're just pounding them. And now with the fact that I got Daka, maybe on 6s, maybe my Ludas were all hiding in a building. They all moved out. They joined up, mob squad up to 25. And the Gretchen are standing there waiting to die for the team. And I could double shoot. I'm just getting tingly now.
It's how many shots per Luda, though? That's what I'm driving at.
Well, okay, it's D3
average
shots.
2.
Yeah, but it is what you said, Mark. It is a base 2 damage. You're not rolling D3. Yeah. It's just so you have, let's say, 25 Ludas, 50 shots on average after you mob up. Or is it better to not mob them up and just roll 2D3? I mean, I know you mob up for different reasons, but I mean,
yeah, you mob up to maximize the stratagems.
Yeah,
and also Graz shields because you can only protect 1 unit. Yeah, but no, it's just like in like a good round of shooting, and of course this is classic Warhammer player. The only kind of round of shooting you think about is you roll, a 5 or a 6 for your shots. So that's 75 shots. And then you use your Bad Moon shot strat and you do that all again. So that's 150, strength 7, -1, 2 damage, 48-inch range shots going downfield. Have fun. That is really good.
And the Daka. Don't forget the Daka.
No one's forgetting the Daka with that many shots. That might be enough. Yeah. That might be enough Daka.
I've never met an orc player that didn't like to roll 5s.
It's so satisfying. One thing too about orcs is variance, right? So like, because although it's, on average dice, you're only hitting a third of your shots. Yeah, 50% of the time you're going to do that. but I don't know what the standard deviation would be, but like a good chunk of the time, you're going to be rolling more than a third of your shots.
Well, the other half of the time.
Yeah,
you're going to be rolling more or less. So
I was
a third of the time it's more, a third of the time it's less. A third of the time it's average.
Okay, thank you. But what I'm saying is it can be a lot more, and it's never going to be a lot less. That will never happen.
Well, you're certainly going to remember the more time, the time.
Right?
So it's going to feel like it's a lot. Yeah.
Darn right.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for joining me as we talk about orcs. This is going to be a format warping codex. So we're going to continue to talk about them. The orc coverage is by no means concluded, so we'll continue to talk about that as we move.
You're winding down? I thought we were just getting started here, Paul.
Well, we got to have something to talk about next week.
Okay, fair.
Right?
And by then we'll have games in.
Yeah. Practical
it's so
experience.
beautiful.
I'll have my Big Mac with the shock attack gun ready to go.
Paul, you should treat us like a government worker. Don't bring one, bring 3.
Yeah, I got boys, and I actually part of I won a bracket at this tournament. It was broken up the brackets, and I actually got a decent bit of prize support, and I got some orcs. Whatever. I'm committed.
And they gave you a free shock attack gun?
No, I got that today from a different place. But yeah, I got some trucks. I got some boys. I got some shock attack guns. I'm ready to go.
Right on.
We'll see. Before we wrap up, though, I do want to, just personally, I want to give a shout out to my wife. I don't do that enough, but today, October 31st, is actually our wedding anniversary. And yeah, she's very understanding for all the hobby stuff that I do, traveling, doing this podcast. And I thought it was especially important for me to say what's up to her. She doesn't listen. She doesn't listen, by the way.
Oh, I was going to say, and she made it all the way to the end of this podcast.
No, she's not. She's not making it. She's not making it to the end.
Happy anniversary, Paul. That was really nice.
Thank you very much.
Amazing.
You guys have a good rest of y'all's night. We'll talk again very soon.
Night, Paul.
Good night.
You can't handle the truth.